Welcome back to the deep dive. It's so easy to get swept up in the day-to-day of our careers. Sometimes we kind of lose sight of those bigger ideas, the principles that really make our work and our leadership meaningful. So today, we're going on a bit of an exploration, a really fascinating one, into some foundational stuff. Leadership, gratitude, stewardship. We're drawing from this great set of sources. Leadership's privileges, rights, and present stewardship. It pulls insights from what they call leadership rules. And our mission, like always, is to pull out those key nuggets, those aha moments, to help you lead with more purpose, more appreciation, maybe more foresight. Okay, let's unpack this. Or think about, say, a busy startup or maybe even a big company. Everyone's under pressure. How do you keep people motivated, keep performance up when things are intense? This first rule we're digging into, leadership rule #16, it hits on something fundamental. It could really change how everyone sees their job. It's about the difference between a right and a privilege at work. The source is pretty clear here. All right, that's something inherent, like fair treatment, safety, basic stuff everyone deserves, non-negotiable. But a privilege, that's different. It's a benefit the employer gives, maybe flexible hours, working from home, perks, basically, not entitlements. But here's the line that really jumped out at me, kind of the core of it, recognizing that having a job itself is a privilege, not a right. Wow. That makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What are the maybe uncomfortable implications of that idea, especially if you feel like you've really earned your spot?
It is a provocative point. And what's fascinating here, really, is just how crucial this difference is, particularly for leaders. If we actually see employment itself as a privilege, well, it changes things. Not just mindset, but how resources get used, maybe even how innovation happens. It sort of moves us away from feeling entitled, towards genuine appreciation, maybe investment. The source emphasizes that leaders who get this, they're not just nodding along. They're actively building a workplace culture around appreciation and responsibility. And that inspires teams. It makes them value their roles and contribute meaningfully. You often see more ownership then. People aren't just ticking boxes, they're investing themselves. That might mean putting in extra effort voluntarily, solving problems creatively, even being more resilient when things go wrong. Because they value the opportunity, not just the paycheck. It goes from being just transactional to, something more transformative.
Yeah, I can definitely see the power in that balanced approach idea. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. How does a leader make sure this privilege idea doesn't get twisted? It could sound like you're minimizing contributions, or even worse, creating this fear like your job's always on the line. It's easy for that message to go sideways, right?
That's a really important question. Yeah. The source isn't pushing for some harsh, be grateful or else kind of vibe. Not at all. It's actually about building respect. Mutual respect. It means you absolutely stand up for those rights. Fair treatment, safety, fair pay. Those are fundamental. Definitely. But you also acknowledge and help your team see that things like having the job itself or those flex hours, those are benefits, and they come with responsibility, with appreciation. So for a leader, it means clear communication, celebrating effort, acknowledging what people do, and linking performance to, the ongoing opportunity. It's about encouraging appreciation, not demanding people feel subservient. It's a tricky balance, involves honest talks about performance for sure, but also about development, making sure people know their value while also seeing the bigger picture.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a nuanced thing, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. This kind of nuanced view, holding both respect for rights and appreciation for privileges. It encourages what the source calls a balanced approach to leadership. It sounds like a leader who's not just chasing output, but really cultivating a healthy environment.
Exactly. And this brings up a big question for all of us, really, especially if you're in a leadership role. How often do we genuinely pause and, reflect on our own sense of gratitude for our positions? The source is kind of nudging us towards more self-awareness, pushing us to strive to lead with humility and purpose. It's not just about what we expect from others, but what we appreciate ourselves and how that appreciation shapes how we lead every single day. When you lead from gratitude, you're often more empathetic, right? More patient, more likely to invest in your team's growth because you see their success as part of this shared privilege.
That idea of gratitude and humility, sparked by really understanding our roles, it feels transformative. But what comes next? How does that appreciation actually show up in our daily actions, especially when things get complicated, uncertain, which leads us perfectly into leadership rule #3. A good steward of the now becomes a great teacher of tomorrow and ends up an excellent elder who leads by example. This rule frames leadership as this journey, right? And the present moment is like the crucial stage. Now, the source material for this rule, it talks about navigating uncertainty, about the delicate balance between caution and anxiety. And it brings in this powerful anchor, faith, It suggests faith lets us navigate the unknown with discerning eyes, prepared for the unexpected, yet unshackled by the weights of fear and doubt. It's not suggesting blind optimism, more like a grounded confidence.
Yeah, when the source uses faith here, it's interesting. It's not necessarily just spiritual, although it certainly could be for some. In a leadership context, it often means having this deep, maybe evidence-based belief. Belief in your team, in the mission, or even in your own ability to figure things out and adapt. Think about all the pressures leaders face. Decisions, unexpected problems, so much uncertainty. This source implies that having this internal anchor, this faith, stops leaders from getting paralyzed by fear. It lets you prepare for the unexpected proactively instead of just reacting out of fear. It's that we'll figure this out belief. It allows leaders to move forward even when things are murky, rather than getting stuck in endless what ifs. It's a kind of strategic optimism, but grounded in being prepared. It really anchors you in the now, helps you think clearly.
Okay, so faith is the anchor. Then what are the practical parts, the actions of being a good steward of the present moment? The source lays out these fascinating balances, embracing this sacred balance between trust and prudence, hope and humility, and faith and foresight. These sound almost like opposites. How do they actually work together for a leader day to day?
It's a really elegant description of leadership, isn't it? Take trust and prudence. A good steward, they trust their team, give them autonomy, but they're also prudent, careful with resources, realistic about timelines. You don't hover, but you're not reckless either. Then hope and humility. A leader needs to inspire hope, right? And paint that positive vision, but also be humble enough to say, I messed up, learn from mistakes, listen to others. It's knowing when to push forward with optimism and when to pause, listen, maybe change course. And finally, faith and foresight. That deep belief in the mission, combined with looking ahead, anticipating bumps in the road, being ready to pivot, it acknowledges that even with strong faith, you still need to, look around corners. It's not about picking one virtue over the other. It's about managing the interplay between them constantly in every decision.
That's a really beautiful way to put it, that daily juggle. And the source uses this even stronger metaphor for the art of living well. And it says it's not in controlling the future, but in tenderly cultivating the soil of the present, where love, wisdom, and growth flourish. That hits home. We get so caught up trying to plan every detail, control outcomes. But this flips it. It says our real power is in how we pay attention, the effort we put in right now.
Exactly. It reminds me of a story. One leader talked about a chaotic product launch. Their team kept coming back to this idea, tenderly cultivating the soil. It wasn't about big, heroic saves. It was about carefully refining the user experience, detail by detail, even while the market was going crazy. Small, consistent acts of present stewardship. That stopped things from falling apart. Personally, it means investing in learning, relationships, taking care of yourself professionally, focusing on the current task with excellence, building team relationships, making good ethical choices today. When you do that, you're basically preparing fertile ground. Not just for you, but for everyone you lead. The future kind of grows out of that well-tended present.
The cultivating the soil metaphor is really compelling. But, leadership often means making tough calls, disruptive changes. That feels more like clearing the land sometimes, not just gently cultivating it. How does a leader square that patient, nurturing side of stewardship with the need for, bold moves that might feel uncomfortable?
That's a crucial distinction. Yeah, it's not passive gardening, is it? It's active, engaged cultivation. I think it means discerning what needs nurturing and what needs clearing out, maybe even ruthlessly sometimes, to make space for something new to grow. It implies a kind of wisdom, doesn't it? A strategic patience that sees the long game.
Right. It's about understanding that cultivating sometimes involves pruning, hard pruning, making strategic choices now that might feel disruptive but are necessary for things to flourish later.
Precisely. A good steward isn't afraid to pull weeds or even replant completely if things aren't working. It's still thoughtful, intentional action, though, not just reacting in panic.
Okay, that really brings it to life. So let's try and weave these two big ideas together now. We have the gratitude and humility from rule #16, understanding rights versus privileges. And we have rule #3, being a good steward of the present. How do these connect? How does that gratitude piece actually help us be better stewards right now? They feel deeply linked.
Oh, absolutely. The connection is profound. They really seed each other. Think about it like this. Imagine a leader, their big project just failed. They gave it their best shot, but it didn't work out. Now, if they're truly living by both rule #16's privilege mindset and rule #3's present stewardship, How would they react differently compared to someone who isn't?
Hmm. Well, I guess someone operating from entitlement might immediately look for blame, right?
Yeah.
External factors, maybe the team. They might see the failure as undermining their right to succeed, could lead to anger, defensiveness, maybe coming down hard on people.
Exactly. But a leader who genuinely says their role is a privilege, who comes from that place of gratitude and humility, they'd look at that setback differently. First, they'd probably look inward. Where could I have cultivated better? What resources did we have the privilege to use? Did we steward them effectively? That gratitude naturally leads to a more intentional, dedicated approach, even when things go wrong. When you're not coming from entitlement, you're more likely to cultivate the soil of the present with real care and respect, even if that soil feels pretty barren for a moment.
So that appreciation makes you more diligent, less likely to take things for granted, more focused on adding value, even through difficulties. It helps you embody that sacred balance. Rule #3 talks about trust and prudence, hope and humility, faith and foresight, because you value the opportunity itself. And that humility also makes you a more effective leader by example. Like Rule #3 says, your team sees your dedication comes from appreciation, not just duty. It creates this positive loop.
It really does. And this combined mindset, it also builds resilience. Setbacks aren't personal attacks, they're chances to cultivate differently, to learn. You value the opportunity too much to get completely derailed by failure. And by focusing on stewarding the present well, you're not just doing tasks, you're intentionally growing, improving the whole environment around you. So, for you, listening, internalizing that your job is a privilege means approaching everything, tasks, interactions, challenges, with more responsibility, more gratitude. This mindset makes you more resilient, less thrown by minor bumps. You value the chance too much. And focusing on being a good steward now means you're actively improving things. It's a cycle of gratitude and mindful present action that creates real impact for you and for your team. You become a leader who doesn't just manage, but truly elevates.
Wow. What an incredible journey into really the heart of leadership today. We've unpacked that vital difference between rights and privileges at work, stressing how powerful gratitude and humility can be. And we dove into the wisdom of present stewardship, how to cultivate today for a better tomorrow. These aren't just theories, are they? They're real frameworks for anyone wanting to lead with more impact, more purpose. So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought to chew on. Thinking about both things, the humility of seeing your job as a privilege, and the wisdom of cultivating the present, the good and the tough parts. How does really living these principles today prepare you to become that excellent elder who leads by example tomorrow? Maybe think about what's one specific thing you'll consciously cultivate this week. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Keep reflecting on these powerful ideas, and we'll catch you next time.